A wonderful, wonderful good evening to our webinar of childhood trauma, how it affects our long-term health, our life, and how we can heal it. There's been some incredible study done over the years, and one specific study called the Kaiser study, which we want to explain a little bit more thoroughly. And we just, I guess, want to take a little bit of the inevitability of trauma here. Now there is so much talk about trauma these days, and it's almost like it's when you have it, what do you do? And first of all, I would like to thank all of those people who have written in, who have shared how trauma may have affected your life. And some of them are really, really severe. Some of them are not so much in the prime light, but still the effects are felt afterwards. And so I guess, really speaking, there aren't many people who don't carry trauma with them. Now, who am I to say, or who am I that can say that, you know? And so you are here in this webinar today because somehow you came across the title of this and also the journey. And I've been with Brandon Bays and the journey for nearly 30 years and have seen transformation, life transformation at the most amazing depth and level. And I can say with hand on my heart that I guess each and every one of these thousands and thousands and thousands of people had experienced trauma, not one, but I'm sure a multiple amount of trauma, as we all do. And so for this session today, my colleague Daniel Wagner is joining me, and he's kind of doing a little bit more of background explaining. Come next to me, Daniel, and say hello to everybody. Now, Daniel has put a beautiful presentation together, sharing with us some of this study that I mentioned earlier on, and to really bring it into context of what trauma is, how different trauma can be. You know, sometimes we have an idea that it has to be an accident, that it has to be some big bump or something. Trauma can happen in so many forms, and Daniel is shedding some more light what trauma really is. But what's most important for us here today is that we want to share with you that it's also possible to heal. You know, that this is not a baggage that we need to carry with us for the rest of our lives, but that we can clear it no matter how deep and how severe the wounds from the trauma were. And some of them go back. Somebody wrote in and was sharing about an accident or a car issue that mum had while she was still in the womb, and that fearfulness of that trauma is still with her or stayed with her for a long time. So there is so many different forms, and yet just because we find a label for it, just because we find a name for it, doesn't mean we have to own it, doesn't mean that it needs to stay there. And what Brandon has contributed to humanity is something that helps us to completely clear traumas from ourselves, from our bodies, from our beings, and we can go about life in a much freer, effective way. And just looking at the participants here today, very, very grateful for everybody showing up, and beautiful turnout, everyone. And there's lots of welcomes from Netherlands and from the UK and from the Czech Republic. And I think we got all across Europe here today. So once again, a beautiful, beautiful thank you. And I'm going to hand you over to my colleague, and I come back. I do some, have I introduced myself, Daniel? I haven't, have I?
Yeah,
You
a
and
little
you
bit.
still
You
need
just
to.
said that you've been with Brandon for almost 30 years, but you
I've
haven't said
been I've
much
been with
about.
Brandon and the journey for nearly 30 years. Of that time, I've been an international director for 27 years, and I have witnessed seminars online over the last few years. I have witnessed live seminars from the very beginning, and so I'm not speaking as a psychologist. I'm not speaking as a medical practitioner. I'm speaking as someone who has witnessed firsthand the amazing possibilities there are for transforming into freedom, into letting go of these old traumas that we may have carried for a long time. So that's what we're here to talk about today. So over to you, Daniel, and thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Gaby. So first up, I'm really want to thank everybody who's taken the time tonight. I know we had hundreds and hundreds of registrations, but from registering to actually showing up, it means a lot to us. And I'm here with the good news message and with something that I really feel is so important. Over the last 5 to 10 years, amazing people like Gabor Mate, Thomas Hübel have allowed us to normalize the idea that trauma is everywhere. It is literally in all of us. It is intergenerational. It is collective. We carry it in our genetic makeup. We even know now scientifically that we can carry it over 5 generations. It's proven that something that might have happened to your great 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 grandfather could still be affecting your emotional state today. And knowing that is amazing. You know, just a few decades ago, there was no knowledge of that. Somebody who had a traumatic experience would normally relate to a car accident or an abuse or a traumatic event like a burglary, you know, the obvious stuff we call trauma. But the truth of the matter is that there are many other things that we do not know how to handle in the moment. And I will talk a little bit more when I bring out a few of my slides. But I'm referring to a massive study that has been done by Kaiser. That's one of the largest health insurers in America. And they did this study because they want to predict pretty much how long people are going to live. So they didn't come from a place of want to help people relieve trauma. They just found out that if people in early childhood, before the age of 6, had adverse childhood experiences, it will affect the rest of their lives, including longevity, including the likelihood of having some of the most deadly diseases known to man, from heart attacks to strokes, depression, drug addiction, cancers. They are linked. Now, you ask me, where's the good news in this? The good news in this that we now have different modalities. We now have different ways to be able to deal and release and even totally clear some of these traumas. And that's why we're excited here in the journey, because for 30 years, over 30 years, we've been doing this work. And we only now are able to share with more people that some of the deepest effects of what they experienced unconsciously at times and might still be with them can be released. The one thing that is really pertinent to me, I'm with the journey for about 10 years now, and I came with my own baggage. I came with my own load, my own story of what happened to me, the victimhood, the stories, you know, from my parents and grandparents from Austria and the Jewish tradition, whatever it may be. All of us carry a story. And what is generally observable, if you look around the world, when people get older, very often they become narrower, they become more and more burdened, and they become less open, less adventurous, less healthy. And you might say, yeah, of course, we're getting older. Now, the truth of the matter is, it is only because we have not been able to deal with some of the old experiencing, and we're adding new experiences we don't know how to deal with. At one point, the toxicity of experiences, the burden becomes so much that people naturally become more anxious, more fearful, smaller, more protective. Now, being with the journey over 10 years, like Gaby, I've witnessed hundreds and thousands of often miraculous transformations, but I also experienced that people in their 60s, 70s, or even 80s can be free and young in their being, in their way they experience life. And my assumption, this is not scientific, but my assumption is it's because they were able to clear some of the things that they collected very early in their life, and it now frees them up to still be present with day-to-day life. Now, I don't have to even point to the fact that the times we're living in, the challenges we're living in as humanity, the madness we see all around us, it is bound to make all of us worried and afraid of the future or fearful. So even that is a question, how are we dealing with those experiences? And again, the journey work, the journey method, pioneered by Brandon Bass, has been proven to be a magnificent tool to do that. So without any further ado, if you allow me, I'll share a few slides. It just allows me to go specifically into the science. Now, I'm not a scientist. This is a disclaimer. I'm not a trauma expert. I'm not a trauma therapist either. I have done the Journey Practitioner training. I have also done the Journey Life Coach training, and we have experienced in the journey processing that often traumas resolve and heal. But the journey method is not invasive. We're not doing something to people. We're just allowing the body to naturally come to its own conclusions. The body wants to heal, and the journey method allows this to happen in a beautiful, very effortless way. So let me share my screen, and please let me know if you can see my slides. The moment I share my slides, most other things will disappear from my screen. Just a quick show of hands, or maybe Gaby, give me a quick thumbs up if you can see. Okay, perfect. Thank you both. I'm just noticing Chris and Ollie and some more from our team here. So big thank you to the team that made this presentation possible, that makes the technology possible. What a miraculous time we're living in, that we can be here from all over the world in the comfort of our homes, watching this. So I want to share a few data points around what is called the new science of how childhood trauma affects your long-term health and wellness, but even more importantly, how to heal it. I already spoke to the normalization that happens since Gabor Mate has spoke about trauma. Thomas Hübel speaks about collective trauma, interconnected traumas that we all have. And I think that's beautiful. But the danger in that thinking is that we use it almost like a label and justify whatever happens. Because I've been traumatized, and you too, we can justify any form of closing down or behavior or whatever else might happen. So I just want to make sure that we don't look at it in that way. So, but the science, of course, helps. Now, there are many definitions of trauma if you Googled it or ask the medical books. The one that makes most sense to me, and I hope that this helps you as well to put it into a very new context, is the following. Trauma, the way we define it here for tonight, is any experience that we can't fully feel or digest in the moment. Now, why is this relevant? Because the body, if it deals with a situation it doesn't know how to deal with, and it could be at any age, but often as children we don't know how to deal with the situation, and what the body does to protect us, it literally locks it away in the body for later. But later never comes because another experience comes, and we lock it away for later, and these get stored in different parts of the body. These are so-called cell memories. There is science around this. Bruce Lipton has written an amazing book called The Biology of Belief, how what we believe affects our cell and cell memories. So trauma, for today's definition, is any experience that we can't fully digest in the moment. We store it for later, but later never comes. We accumulate it over decades or a lifetime, and it starts to affect us. And as a matter of fact, we have studies that I will quote today and share with you that if we don't resolve this trauma, we have a much greater likelihood of dying early, as bluntly, I'm sorry to be here so clear, or to contract or suffer from some of the most common diseases that afflicts modern civilization. So unresolved trauma results in many different things, stories that keep going round, that we project onto the world, mental patterns, avoidance behaviors, fear-based living. Any form of phobia is unresolved trauma. If you suffer from an experience that something happened once, it might be from open spaces or being in closed spaces or being with certain animals, whatever that is, it becomes something that limits you to experience life. And fear-based living is something we see a lot. It could also end up with impairments emotionally, mental, and physical. We know today, and this was groundbreaking knowledge when Brandon first discovered and uncovered it, that our emotions and our mental patterns and our body are not just connected, they are interlinked. As a matter, they are one. Only we as humans make a distinction between the body, the mind, the emotions. They all are connected. They are one part of you, of your being. So when we speak of trauma, the one that is most commonly referred to is what is now in trauma science just called shock trauma. If you are in an accident or have been in an accident, you've been assaulted or a natural disaster has happened, these traumas get lodged in your physiology, in your body. And we do talk about post-traumatic stress. We talk about even a disorder recognized, and that can be, you can get therapy for post-traumatic stress disorder, meaning that after the trauma happened, after the incident, you're suffering ongoingly for stress. And we know, for example, from soldiers coming out of war zones, they might be in treatment for weeks, months, or decades, often without great relief, because they really don't want to re-experience the experiences. Now, again, a little bit of good news here. You don't have to relive the trauma to be able to release it. Our body has better ways. And you might have heard or seen this before, but in the animal kingdom, if a gazelle gets attacked by a lion, and it escapes miraculously and does not get killed, the gazelle, of course, suffers trauma, but it does not carry that trauma forever. It does not create mental patterns or avoidance behaviors. It wildly shakes, and the shaking is now known to release the trauma. So after some of these attacks, it wildly shakes, and it pretty much, poof, it shakes it off pretty much, and it gets on with life, right? Now humans are quite different. Now, much of the trauma work these days might include shaking and might include trauma release on a physical level, but we have not learned to naturally do that. So there are two other types of trauma. The second one, and this is the one we talk a lot about today, is so-called developmental or relational trauma. And this is when any form of adversity, chronic adversity, abuse, neglect, lack of safety, those you might have experienced this in your childhood, and it's absolutely none of your fault. And yet, as a grown-up, you will either start the same patterns, you will start living it and reaffirming the truth of your experience, or you're suffering from it to this day. And again, it can be decades, a whole lifetime. You could suffer and be unfree from an experience that might have happened when you were young. Now, today we know more that even chronic stress, they talk here about chronic toxic stress. Sometimes people argue and say, oh, stress is also good, it gives you adrenaline and it gets you excited. There is a very small portion of stress called eustress, eustress, that is positive, that actually gets you sharp and focused and it gets you into the zone. But most of the stress, if it's ongoing, it will literally burn your adrenals, so to say. What we call burnout is a result of chronic stress, and there are many others. Here on this slide, we also often mention childhood medical procedures, right? The fear that you might experience, even if you put under, if you've been in an anesthesia, still the body suffers from the trauma. And unless you work with that or relieve it, it might be with you for the rest of your life. And of course, living in certain areas, right? At the moment, I'm very blessed living in the countryside and I'm actually looking out over a valley and I can see trees. But if you live in a violent part of a city, if you grow up in a community that is threatening, and this is nothing I have to make up, it is happening to millions and millions of people, then it's very difficult to get through life unscathed, so to say. Gaby said it so well. We can't really go through life or get through life without experiencing trauma. So here they are, a long list, and this is just to get an understanding that all of us have experienced one or many of those. And the Kaiser study focuses a lot on the so-called adverse childhood experiences. And the study is very easy to summarize that many of the problems you have, the physical issues, digestive disorders, autoimmune diseases, chronic fatigue, chronic pain, migraines, on the emotional, behavioral side, anxiety, depression, challenging relationships, forever being in challenging environments, PTSD, the post-traumatic stress syndrome or disorder, addiction, the range of addiction based on adverse childhood trauma is in the tenfolds. A shocking number of people would try to self-medicate to kind of manage the emotional state. So here is the big culmination slide, really, and I just want you to take that in, knowing that all of us have suffered trauma in one way or the other. To understand that from the 17,000 people that the Center of Disease Control and Kaiser and one of the largest health insurers have taken, they have 17,000 people from a wide range of society, all classes, all backgrounds. This is something that is universal for humanity. And 2/3 of participants have consciously remembered or admitted to having at least one adverse childhood experience. 20% have said they experienced 3 or more so-called ACEs, adverse childhood experiencing. And this affects, as we said right at the beginning, the long-term health and wellness. Now, if you have experienced 4 or more of these ACEs, and this is the middle column here, the heart disease, the likelihood of having a heart disease is 240%. So you're more than twice as likely to have or develop heart disease simply because something happened in your childhood that you are or partly aware of. And remember, this is people saying, yes, I remember that happened. Many more traumatic experiences have been locked away so far that we don't even remember it happened. So-called blackout zones are very common. The likelihood of having any form of cancer is almost double if you have experienced adverse childhood experiences. Here's the most shocking one for me, drug abuse, that people have a 10 times, 1030%, a 10 times more likely to become drug users, drug abusers, drug addicts when there has been a series of adverse experiences in their childhood. And this is not to make an excuse for the behavior, by the way. This is really just linking scientifically the likelihood of having a compromised life experience with what happened earlier that was not your fault. This we need to really understand here today. You can carry on reading with me. Stroke, 2.5 times more likely. Diabetes, 160%. Suicide attempts, 1,120% in that specific study. That means 11 times more likely somebody is not wanting to go on with their life. The most dramatic form of self-harm because something happened in decades ago. Obesity, depression, also shocking numbers, a much greater likelihood. And obviously, many people have suffered more than these 4 adverse experiences. And you can see here on the right-hand side of this chart, if you have 6 or more, life expectancy can decrease by almost 20 years. So I just find this is maybe the 10th time I'm presenting this with Gaby. And if I really let that information, it is just mind-boggling how little we do as society to relieve and heal the underlying issues and deal constantly with the outcomes. is very much how we are in the West, right? We look at the outcomes and we try to fix the outcomes, but we don't look at the root cause behind it. So why does this even matter? I mean, it's shocking. Yes, it's scientific proven. Okay, but why does it matter? And for me, it matters, and for us in the journey, it matters because when you address the root cause of a trauma and support the healing and recovery, this is crucial for you as a person, but it is also crucial for society and for the environmental health at large. I think we are hopeful, we're still hopeful that we as humanity can make it. But unless we heal our own traumatic experiences and we heal other people's trauma as well, the chances of living together in peace, the chances of making this work is greatly reduced. So I think it really matters on a level of personal responsibility to say, I will take care of what has happened to me. Some of it is totally out of your hands, what happened, but I will take care of it because otherwise you will pass it on. Gaby will share some examples where it's very clear we don't even just carry our own story, we carry our fathers and grandfathers, we carry our family, our ancestry, and their trauma as well. So this is a bit of a gray slide, and I do believe that some of the outcome we're seeing, you could really point to and say it is because we as society, we as humans have grown all a living with trauma, and we're portraying and seeing and manifesting a world of poverty and addiction and discrimination and violence and chronic illness and mental health issues, and using the planet the way we do without respect and understanding because we are disconnected from ourselves. So you could almost say that potentially trauma is the root cause of pretty much all the problems we're seeing in the world. And we have a responsibility, I believe, to start taking care of wherever we can. Once we understand the connection, you can't unsee it. So, by the way, I hope that I don't think enjoying is the right way, but I hope you're getting something out of this presentation. I can't really see that much, but if you can just let me know by a show of hands or just a quick nod or a thumbs up if this is valuable. If you okay, thank you. I can see Nelson, I can see Libby, Judith, yes, Abelisha, Amy, Yana, thank you. I appreciate that. I know this is some of it's quite dark stuff, but we live with it. I want to talk about one more slide and then I hand back over to Gaby. And here I want to talk about so-called trauma responses. Most people by now have heard about fight-flight response. The idea that you either attack or run away is quite normal, the fight flight. And we see that in nature, right? If a weaker animal can, it will run away, and if it cannot run away, it will fight to the death or hopefully survival. But there are three more trauma responses lesser known, and I've seen a disturbing and beautiful documentary about a young woman who was raped. So one of the most terrible traumas a person can undergo. And because she did neither fight or flight, but she froze, which is the third trauma response, she felt incredibly guilty and shameful because she kept telling herself, why did I not fight it? Why did I not run away? Why did I not do something about it? Her body chose to freeze, which is a trauma response. It's outside your cognitive control. You're not making a trauma response mentally. You're not sitting there contemplating or making up a solution. The body does one or the other, or one of the three here. And I really want when I saw that, and it was so emotional when she finally understood that she didn't do anything wrong. And even that recognition allowed her to release and relieve and heal from what actually took place all these decades ago. That there were two more lesser known trauma responses. One is the fawn response. This is very much like a little deer would just try to become invisible. And if this is your response to trauma, you might adopt that in the rest of your life. You might become the invisible person to not attract attention, because to not attract violence or to not attract criticism. And the fawn response is, it's not to be taken lightly, only because people fade in the background. It's immense suffering that goes with that trauma response, and you might recognize yourself in that. And by the way, we have aspects of all of these. It's not like you have one trauma response. Every traumatic event that happens to you, you pick, your body, your being picks one of those to deal with it the best it can, to carry on all vital functions and to hopefully survive. But survival is, I think as humans, we have, I can't say the right. I wish I would say we can have the right to thrive and enjoy and live in abundance and freedom, but we have the ability. So survival isn't really our outcome here. Our outcome is to live fully. The fifth one is also now known as a trauma response. It's called collapse. And I don't think I have to describe that in much detail. Collapse is literally an inability to deal with a situation, to just kind of, break down in a crying fit, a total over response to something what actually happens. Actually, as I say that, I remember a situation recently where one of our children, something small happened and her response was collapse. It was like an over exaggerated response to what actually took place. But this is not conscious, right? So something early on happened, and again we're living with those responses. So I hand over to Gaby in just a minute. But I did a bit of research of why it matters, not just for the collective well-being and the environment, but here are 10 of what science tells us, 10 benefits if you actually start to clear trauma for yourself and for others. Improved mental health. Now, we are all under an onslaught, a barrage of negative information and news, and it affects us. We cannot not be affected by scrolling on our handsets and by watching the news. And your mental health is going to be compromised. And if you already carry burdens from the past, even more so. Enhanced emotional regulation. I didn't share that, but you might remember on the few slides we've just seen, there was this funny brain with a spine. This was our nervous system. And the nervous system is what creates the fight-flight response. The nervous system also has a response that is called recovery and heal, a rest and heal response. Now, if you clear trauma, your own nervous system will become better at regulating itself. There's really nothing you need to do. As a matter of fact, ideally you get out of the way with your own strategies and let the body, let the nervous system regulate itself. Restored physical health. Gaby spoke to some of the miraculous transformation she witnessed. Same for me. I've seen it again and again. People restore physical health, anything from frozen shoulders or, weird stuff that they stuck with for years or decades, cleared instantly when the underlying trauma is cleared. Strengthened relationships. Of course, if you have avoidance behaviors, if you are afraid of intimacy, if you are afraid to stand up for what you believe, that would weaken your relationships. The kind of self-sovereignty, the self-honoring, these qualities, they can become stronger again. They're innate, but they're buried by trauma. So you become more of a best version of yourself. Increased self-esteem. I just spoke to that, this increased way of knowing your goodness and being good and living that goodness. Greater life satisfaction overall. There's a separate study I looked into once called the Cantrell Ladder Study, one of the longest studies on life satisfaction. Again, clearly linked to being able to clear trauma. expanded sense of safety. That makes a lot of sense. There is, of course, a reality to the dangers in the world, but there is also an overlay that we create from our own story, our own experiences. And I know that, a few years ago, for example, if you were attacked by a dog, then it's quite likely that for a long time, every time you see a dog, you perceive an extended sense of danger that might be bigger than the actual danger. Why? Because of your experience, because of a trauma you endured. So this is very natural and obvious. Enhanced cognitive function, people can operate better, become more intelligent, so to say, because you have more processing power of your brain available. Instead of trying to avoid things and lock things away, you can be more present. Personal growth and insight. That for me was a big one when I cleared or understood some of the underlying connections. I had experience of personal growth. I had actual spiritual growth just based on understanding and clearing some of the old trauma. And of course, sense of closure and peace. So often, when forgiveness can finally be spoken and can take place on the real level, not just from a mental lip service, miracles can happen, transformation can happen as well. So, thank you so much for allowing me to so extensively share about this topic. And I really hope that you're very curious, not just about what Gaby has to say, but also how the journey and how we, as a journey organization, can help you and share with you what you can do next. So I'm gonna hand over back to Gaby, and thank you so much for your attention.
Oh, thank you, Daniel, so much. I really, really am always amazed when you do the presentation of the Kaiser study because it makes it so clear. And I don't know about everybody here, but when we go through what types of trauma there are, do I have one, two? Did I have one, two, three, four? Numerous. And I come from a actually a very fairly good background. So I had no abuse in our home. I had a very lovely, loving family. There was just other problems, but I had plenty of traumas. And and I think we all do because we've all been through some kind of shock. We all kind of probably felt neglected at one point or another, when we feel like somebody should look after me right now and nobody is. And we cannot digest what's taking place in that moment. Have you been have you been in a hospital when you were a child? I have, and at that point when I was in a hospital, there was like this kind of thing over your face, and then you passed out, and parents weren't allowed to stay with you then, So did I have one trauma, two, three, four? I think I had a lot more than that. And what happened to me was that I got kind of to the age of 40, and I had a growing up with a mum who was suffering from depression most of her life. So I was looking at that and I kind of made an internal vow and I said, whatever happens in my life, everything but not that. Because she lost the child before me and you know didn't have any help or anyone to to move through some of the immense horror that a parent would go through with losing a child. And I was the next baby after that, and so there was depression in the house. There was like everybody had to walk on eggshells, and you couldn't kind of be your bouncy self. You couldn't speak loud, you couldn't shout, you couldn't laugh, you couldn't do anything. And so you kind of hold back everything. And I got to the age of 40, and I realized that something was seriously not right because I felt like I was dragging myself around. I was exhausted, I was tired, I was numb on the inside. And when I went to the doctor for the first time for something like that, I couldn't sleep anymore. It was like insomnia. It was really kind of everything started to crumble and fall apart. And the first thing they wanted to give me was antidepressants. And so I actually took the prescription, walked away from the doctor, tore it up, and threw it away. And I said, whatever it takes, I do whatever it takes, I won't do that. And so this is really where my journey began and where I kind of started to look into alternative healing methods. And as you would have heard, when you look for a teacher, the teacher shows up. And in my case, I was and still am today extremely grateful that Brandon was the one teacher that showed up. And what she brought was the teaching that another teacher shared, and I heard, that if you want to grow into mature age or old age, call it whatever, have in common is that they have a way of opening to infinite intelligence, into a profound universal love, into a presence of God. You can name it whatever you want it, but this is a presence that is much more than this physical form. It's actually the essence of who we are. So there is a way that if we find a way of opening into this presence, and once we do that, then these unresolved old issues can come to the surface and you can clear them out. You can actually eradicate the root cause of some of these issues. Now, I was looking at the chat box earlier and somebody said, can I reverse, some of the percentages of heart disease, of dying 20 years earlier because I have so many traumas? Yes, you can, because we can clear all of these issues out. And Brandon has created and I think channeled, call it whatever you want to call it, a process that she then was able to share with the world. And Brandon herself also had a trauma. So there may be some people here who've read her book. And by the way, we have a beautiful, beautiful a few bonuses at the end here that we want to share with you. But Brandon's book explains her trauma of going through violent childhood and how she, in her late 30s, was diagnosed with a tumor the size of a basketball. And it was actually that illness that guided her to the process that became the journey. So to uncover or to first of all open into this infinite intelligence, number one, and number two, to come up with this memory that we weren't able to digest or weren't able to feel openly at the time when they happened. We're not equipped, we're not taught that way, so we're not doing anything on purpose. But when you have a mother who has a streak of violence, and when you're feared for your life, that is trauma. There is so much, so many different ways. And so because she had a background at that time of 20 years of working in the alternative field, she was able to piece together how she could then, with hindsight, clear the tumor. Now, what also was interesting, that this particular story of Brandon, this opening into this infinite field and clearing cell memories, is exactly what I heard from another teacher, which some of you may know. He's been around for many, many years and goes back into, God knows, early 80s with his alternative teaching, was Deepak Chopra. And I was at a seminar with him in the 90s before I even met Brandon. And he said, what survivors and people who grow healthily and happily into old age have in common is, number one, that you open into this infinite intelligence, this quantum soup, as he called it then. And number two, that through some form of grace coincidence, you find a way of clearing some of the cell memories that we weren't able to release at the time when they happened. And so I heard this and it made absolute total sense to me. I didn't know about Brandon, I didn't know about journey work at that time. But when he said it, I thought, yes, I get it, I understand it. How? How do you do that? And he didn't have a method, and he kind of advised people to eat healthily, to go to bed early, to live a very healthy lifestyle, eat, vegetarian or be what, so meditate and you name it. I tried everything. I tried it all because I really trusted and knew that what he said was correct. I heard it here. I didn't hear it with my ears. It landed here. Only I didn't know how. I didn't know how, and what he said we should do didn't work for me. I was a busy businesswoman on the verge of burnout, and meditation didn't help me. All of the things that he recommended, suggested, didn't do anything. So after 3 months, I said, well, it's obviously not meant for me. It's meant for everyone else that, is capable of doing that, not for me. And then the miracle happened where I got an invitation to an intro talk from Brandon. And she said, on day one of my seminar, you will learn a process that opens you into this infinite field of all possibilities, into this in this infinite intelligence. And on day two of my seminar, you learn a process that kind of guides you inside your body to a place where you have unresolved cell memories. An issue that could have happened in childhood, could have even happened before birth, you could have brought it in with you. It could have been a generational issue. And you become aware of it, and her process allows you to clear it out. And I thought, that's exactly, if this is true, then she's got the holy grail of happy life, healthy life in her hand. And so I needed a lot of persuasion back because I didn't really believe that it's possible. And I came to the seminar and I went, and it was the biggest transformative event ever. And this was just the introduction seminar. This was just the beginning, the 2 days at the very beginning. And my life changed from that weekend on. And I realized how many more issues I had. And one of the big ones that I had was that I was just I'm Austrian by birth, by the way. And so if you know any Austrians, you probably know that they're very kind and nice people. And I didn't know what anger was if it stared me in the face. I was frightened of it if anybody got angry around me, and I couldn't get angry. I couldn't get angry with anyone. I would always find a reason why people behaved in that way, and kind of was very understanding and very nice. And it was one of the biggest seminars after the first weekend where I uncovered a memory where I was 6 years old, and I had my little sister was just born, so she was I think she was 6 months old. My brother, the firstborn brother, there was another child in between, the one that died, but my older brother, 4 years older than me, um, we played a game, and he teased me, and I was on the balcony outside of the house. It was a holiday we were on. Mum was sleeping with the baby because it was lunchtime, and my brother there was a living room and another room and a few doors with Victorian windows, those panel windows with glass in between. And I was running on the outside and he was running on the inside, and he would open a door, and when I got to it, just when I got to it, he closed it. And then he would run to another door and open it, and I would run to it. And when I got to it, he just closed it. Well, it didn't take many takes for him to do that. I got really, really angry. Now, I was 6 years old. I had no idea. But actually, what overcame me in looking back, what I know, was blind rage. It was actually blind rage. And I had lost control of what I was doing. And I put my hand through, I wanted to push the door open, but obviously I went through the glass, and I went through the glass with my fist, and I cut my wrist to the point where the cut in places was deeper than the main artery. And where the main artery was, it just kind of shaved the top. I survived. There was a huge puddle of blood. But I was 6 years old, and I thought I killed myself, that I'm going to bleed to death. And I was already standing in a puddle of blood, and Mum came and she figured out how to still how to hold the blood back. And as I'm sitting here, I obviously survived, but the trauma was already there. And that wasn't one trauma. There was so many unresolved issues in this one memory as I uncovered over time. But one thing that happened in an instant at that point is I said in an instant, it's like if I lose my temper, if I do something like that ever again, if I get angry or have blind rage, I can kill myself or someone else. And that was the end of it. I didn't feel anger from 6 till the age of 40 when I came to the journey. So, and no surprise, I was exhausted. I was near burnout. And what happens is when we create a shutdown like that, it's the very life force that animates us, that moves us, that heals us, that breathes us, that speaks us, that if you shut that down, you shut life down. And I had done that successfully for 34 years at that point. And when that door opened, when that floodgate opened and energy became available, oh my God, I had energy for, I don't know, it was unstoppable. And it was almost, it was a point of discomfort to start with because I wasn't used to it. But then, I've been around this work for so many years. I think this particular workshop where I uncovered that memory was in 97. I've been doing journey work for all these years, and all I know is I feel strong, I feel healthy, I have no I have no anything that I'm possibly worried about health-wise. And not only that, but what the beauty is you become light, you become open and you live the colors of all of life. There is appreciation, there is joy, there is beauty, there is gratitude. Because if we shut down any negative emotions like fear and anger and rage and hatred and all, you name it, we shut down our positive feelings as well. We shut everything out. There is no joy. There is just grayness. There is just blankness. And so you will in this bonus stack you will get you can get Brandon's book. There's also a book that she co-wrote with her husband, who wrote a book called Light in the Heart of Darkness. Again, a huge story of trauma that put a lid over his life, where everybody said it's depression, it's generational, it's like there's nothing you can do. All you can do is have your mixture of drugs and keep yourself at a base level. And he did one journey process and he had never felt depression again. And so everything that Daniel said makes total sense. And there is this beautiful woman called Brandon Bays who, through her own story of healing, was able to birth a process and bring a process into the world that can help us to clear trauma from our cells, from our bodies, and allow us to live openly, freely, joyously, which is, Daniel, our birthright. You said you shouldn't call it that way, but it is our birthright. And I do believe in a way that we come into this life to learn, to grow, to mature, to clear out some of the burdens from the past that we may have been passed on by generations, and then we repeat the patterns in this life and it gets worse. And we come to a point in age where we can't where it gets more and more difficult because we're shutting down the very life force, the chi, the prana, to come through and live us. That is what animates us. That is who we are. And when this energy comes through cleanly, neutrally, without being loaded with the hurt and the pain and the suffering and the we just got to find the courage to clear it out. Is it a Pandora's box? No, it isn't. Because once we do one process can only deal with one thing. But when your body knows that you do have a method that you can clear out stuff from the past, it will want to clear out more. Not in one process, but it will give you time to integrate, and then it's time to do another one. And at the journey, we learn, at the journey intensive, we learn the very, very tool that we can use forever. It's yours to keep. And not only that, but we also creating community where we meet people that have the same desire as you of wanting to heal, wanting to clear the wounds from the past. And then we just kind of meet up with each other and we kind of do some more processing, or we go and see a journey practitioner. If they're more complex stories, there were some stories shared. My heart reaches out to some of the people here who've shared some of the traumas that they have gone through and are still going through. And so if you're still living in an environment that causes you a trauma response today, get out, for God's sake. Do something. Ask for help. Go to the authorities. Do something. There is no, the past we can heal, but staying in it is an entirely different issue and problem. And so on these 2 days, you learn a process that will form the beginning of starting to clear out. And for some people, it's been the big one right on day one, But when you open, and I'm saying this just as a word, when you open into this presence of infinite intelligence, this soul, the truth of who you are, the essence of who you are, this unconditional love, you name it. It has so many different names. It could be just euphoria, it could just be so much joy. But this is the truth of who we are. But when you access that, and when you know that this sits inside of you, that this isn't something we want to hold back, that we can just kind of open our hearts and allow this love to come out, then we inspire the people around us. Then we make a difference in our lives, in our communities, in our environments. And I really do feel that we're living in times where this should be on everybody's menu. It's so clear, and there isn't that much out there. We don't have to carry the burden. Do you know, there was a beautiful article written about Brandon's work back in the early days in the Sunday Times, and it was the Sunday Times, and it was actually pre-framed with a cartoon, and the cartoon was a mountain, and on the one half of the mountain it was thunder clouds, it was gray sky, it was like thick clouds, and there was this woman walking up the hill, walking up this mountain with a huge bag, and she was just, you could see that she was really, really struggling. And then she got up to the top of the mountain and she let go of this bag. And then you see all the chunk that was held in the bag flying off. And then on the other side of the mountain, it was blue sky, and she was skipping down. And she was skipping down, and there was no more bag on her shoulders. And that was a Sunday Times journalist's experience of the first day of the Journey Intensive. And so this is what's available for all of us. It doesn't matter what your cultural background is. It doesn't matter how young you are, how old you are, if you are male or female. This is we all are soul, we all are essence. And Brandon's work has given us a method to access that. And when we access that, then the unresolved issues become available to be cleared out. And hallelujah, what an amazing gift. So not a day goes by where I don't just get on my hands and knees, or want to get on my hands and knees and say, thank you, Brandon, for being so courageous and sharing this with the world. And it's so much more easily understood these days, and yet still people sometimes want to be more in the theory of it or in the intellectual understanding of it. And this is something Brandon's work, she often says, this work is not for the faint-hearted. You just got to roll up your sleeves and get on with it and start clearing the shit from the past out. So that's what's available. And I think, is there something I have left out? I could tell you so many more stories of traumas, and even my own are just countless, you know. So I got to the journey, and I really feel like I do not have all of the fearful, God knows, suicidal stuff and heart attack, and at least not now, and I don't think so. And I feel healthy and strong. So rather than dying 20 years earlier, I feel about 20 years younger than I am. So that's what's available. And I hand over to Daniel now, and thank you very much. I hope I haven't overwhelmed you, but
It's always great. Thank you so much, Gabi. I got such excitement now. Thank you for being here with us, and I see even more people joining. Maybe they got the time zone wrong. We had about 10 people join the last 10 minutes. So I got the amazing privilege and the pleasure to share with you how you can actually start that journey now. And for today, we do something we've never done before. I'm really happy I can say that. We've presented this webinar a few times, but we put a very, very special offer together for you. But first of all, I want to introduce you to this amazing lady, Brandon Bass, you see on the image here. And when Gabi said feeling 20 years younger, both Gabi and Brandon are in this older than 70, they're in their 70s. I'm sorry to disclose ages here. I think it can just show how young you can be and how young you can be in your life when you clear some of these things that burden you. The journey celebrates 30 years, and this is amazing with so many new ideas and new methods. We've been doing this for 30 years. I personally am involved for 10, but Brandon's been doing it for 30 years. And this retreat is also 30 years of having the journey intensive. These are 2 days that can really totally change your life. You might notice we have Europe 2 dates coming up, 24th to 26th of June and 26th to 28th of July, and also Australasia, same dates but different time zone. And you might notice these are 3 days. Why? Because we have a bonus day, which is the Monday, that you can, of course, have. It's totally free, but the core event is just 2 days, and there's a bonus day where you learn additional techniques. I will ask Ollie, please, from our team to put the link into the chat already. And I also want to give you some, this is the incredible stuff. So for 10 people here today, the first 10 take in action, and this bonus expires as in a couple of days. There is a couple of really amazing things. The first thing is you can attend the Journey Intensive with Brandon Bass for another €100 off. It's just €97, which is an insane gift from us for a 2 day live event. It's down from 197. The official price is 297, so an additional €100 off with for that live event for both dates. There is a free one-to-one discovery call you can have with a certified practitioner even before the event to give you direction, to give you clarity about the steps you might be taking with the journey, what's right for you. Gaby mentioned Brandon's best-selling book, an international bestseller, sold over 1 million copies. We give you her book, The Journey, a practical guide to healing your life, totally free of charge, just as part of a bonus bundle. So you might be reading that book before you even come to the live retreat. The book is the thing that got me to meet Brandon. I read the book and wanted to meet her. Gaby also mentioned the incredible book that Kevin has written with Brandon, Light in a Heart of Darkness. After 2 decades of being burdened by depression, Kevin was able to clear his depression in just one journey process and has helped since thousands of people with his workshop and work as well. And also we have exclusive audio meditations to help you relax and reconnect. Brandon has recorded incredible meditations that you also can keep, of course, as a gift right after the event. What Gaby said is really important. These events, here are the dates one more time. These events give you the tools to actually learn and use the tools on yourself again and again, and you can even share it with your friends. So this is not theory. This is rolling up your sleeves and diving in there and doing it in a safe and supportive environment. It couldn't be easier. I spoke earlier of a responsibility we all hold to start clearing our own stuff. I could think of other words, but clearing our own stuff. I would encourage you to do that. These bonuses are available for the first 10 taking action. And by the way, we already sent you an email. There should be an email in your inbox that summarizes this offer that I just spoke to. And there is a link to the event there as well. You can pick the one you want. The bonuses will be sent to you. You get all the information you need. And I really, really, from the bottom of my heart, hope that you feel inspired enough after today, that you believe that it can happen for you too. When I came to the journey, I thought that maybe I was too messed up. Maybe my case was too severe, that maybe all these other people, they have experiences, but maybe it just doesn't work for me. The only way to find out is to go there and give it your best shot. To just spend 2 days. Back then, I had to fly half across the world. You can do it from the comfort of your home. This is done online, but it's live. So you have support, you have trainers. It's an incredible opportunity, and I really would want to see you there. That would be my greatest wish. I want to hand back over to Gaby. There's normally some questions that are popping in, and we're outstaying our 1 hour a little bit. So thank you so much for being here tonight. If you have questions, please ask them now, and we do our best to answer them. You will have an email in your inbox. The link will be in the chat window right now as well. Any questions you have, please ask them now. I'm gonna switch my screen back off so you can see Gaby, and we answer some of your questions. And oh, just to say, the slides will be available as well. Some people said, can we please have your slides, Daniel? Absolutely. The recording of this whole session plus my slides will be sent to you as well. Thank you so much for the privilege of sharing these experiences with you and for being here today. I hand back over to Gaby. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think there's some questions coming in the chat box. Where is this event? It's in your own home, so you're going to experience it like that. We use Zoom as the platform, and Zoom has many, many more attributes than just this, because you can actually go into breakout rooms, you can work with somebody. We actually have journey practitioners join voluntarily to support people, because somehow when we have traumas in the past, we created strategies to kind of hide away the hurt, the pain, the stresses from the past. And so, sometimes it's like, what you meant to do, but you don't know how, or you get stuck, or you don't know how to move through it. Well, at this particular event, at the Journey Intensive, we always have journey practitioners. These are people who've gone through a year-long training with Brandon, who learned obviously the tools, done many advanced retreats. They've been through no ego retreats, so they learned about, not just learned, but cleared Enneagram stuff. They've done all the self-worth issue. They've done communication workshop. They've done life transformation week. So with all of this, we always have a beautiful group of people coming to support these events. And if there is any help needed, then you can just raise your hand, and if you just in a room with one other person, swapping a process, you learn how to undergo the process, you learn how to use the process sheets, you literally learn how to do it yourself. Because what Brandon wanted to do, she said, I don't want to tell people, I really want them to get the tools to empower people to do this work for themselves. It's all it is. It's just being open and free to feel emotions. And as we open and feel emotions, we kind of open and deepen into other layers until we open into this infinite field of everything. And it's like, if they taught us that in school, oh my God, how amazing would life be? You know, what a simple thing. But then we get to 40 years, we get to 50 years, or we get into adulthood, and we are so stuck because we don't know what it's like to feel openly, because we've been hurt so many times. We thought, like me, if I get angry like that ever again, I might just kill myself. And that's too dangerous. So I better not get angry. So a lid comes over, or or your first boyfriend leaves you, and it's like, okay, I'm ugly, I'm obviously not good enough for this guy, and another lid, and then we kind of create this mask to the outside world, and somehow we need a crack, and sometimes the crack happens through some trauma in life, through an illness, through a relationship breakup, or you are lucky like me, you come across the teacher at the time just when you need the teacher to show up in your life. But it's beautiful work. It would be our prayer for everybody in the world to have these tools, and this is also why we are making it possible. We can, being online, we can make the price a little bit more flexible and just say, listen, just come, just give yourself the 2 days and make a contribution, an energy exchange, and learn the tools and adopt it in your life. You will be you will be forever grateful anyway. But I just wanted to say that the online format, from what I have experienced, it became necessary when we landed in the time of COVID, and we have done a beautiful transformation and converted the basic seminars that form the practitioner program all into online. So you can experience it on your time zone. So for Europe, it doesn't matter where you are in Europe. We just start in the morning, we finish in the evening. It's 2 days. There is a bonus day where we share advanced skills. We usually find that about 80% of the people stay for the third day, but it's your choice. Sometimes it's not possible because of work. So there you go. But anyway, that was just a brief run on the support system that we have. We have a beautiful team. I will actually be co-hosting these next two events. So you will be meeting me in person there as well. And I've got a couple of hands up. So Yvonne, what is your question? And you can just, Chris, you can just leave Yvonne up there. But I don't know if you have a camera that works, but if you want to unmute yourself and just let me know.
Gaby, I just want to say goodbye. I gotta rush off. Thank you so much for this incredible time with you one more time. And for everyone else, if there are any questions you have for me, just send me an email, daniel@thejourney.com or support@thejourney.com. If there's anything specific you want to know about what I shared, I'd be delighted to. And any other question we can't answer tonight, again, we've got an amazing support team. Thanks so much for being here tonight. All the best.
Very much, Daniel. Thank you. Yvonne, what was your
Hi.
question? Hi.
Yeah. Hi. I'm from the Netherlands in Europe. My question is, it is 2 whole days online. I have also fibromyalgia and physical issues. So I don't know if I have the energy to fill in a whole day. So what would be the best online, and can I redo it or?
When you come and do the journey intensive, you have access to we have everything on replay for a while.
Okay.
If you join the community, you have access to the modules. You have a community that you can swap a process with. And I always say, when people have energy issues, actually, sometimes the energy gets stronger as you stay at the weekend, and to trust that somehow the process will open some gateway or some form of lid that you may have created or may have happened through some form of trauma in life. And
Yeah.
I keep telling people, find a way of, because we don't need to sit by the computer like this. We can actually sit a little bit further back. We can sit on the couch. We all you need to do is listen. There is nothing you need to do. You don't need to learn anything. You don't need to make any notes. You just need to bring yourself here. So to kind of find a way that you can see what's happening on the screen, that you can hear who is speaking. Everybody will always be in the front row because you are, Brandon will be in front of you like I'm in front of you right now, and you will you will just hear the teachings, and then we will share with you how to do the process work. And if there is some issue where you get stuck, we'll have practitioners that will support you. So
Okay. Thank you. I have the book Healing Your Life for years now, and saying, yes, I'm gonna do it. Yes, I'm gonna learn it.
Good. It's time.
It is time, but I don't can do it on my own. So I thought maybe the intensive will do. But I also filled in because I have also my financial issues because of my health. But I have filled in that, and I will hear what is the best solution. I really felt I had to follow this today. So yes, I think something is saying it is time now, Yvonne. Here it is on a silver plate.
I think it is.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yvonne. I'm just going to answer a very, very quick question for somebody who typed in, and I think it was about the bringing up old trauma, maybe very intense, and will there be a follow-up so that we can get the support? We do have a support at thejourney.com. You do have a community that you are part of. You will be sharing a workshop with other souls, with other people who have some of the same issues, similar issues, worse issues, not quite so bad issues, but you have each other, you have people you will meet through the weekend, and you have us to come back to. It's when you open the gate to that, you're not left hanging. When you clear an issue, that issue is cleared. It's not half cooked. If you are honest with yourself, if you are honest with us, if you are honest with our team, you will be complete at the end of the weekend. And that is something that I know, and it's only people who've kind of run away or got scared or didn't share with us what was really going on. So just unadulterated truth to share that, and we can support that. We have so many tools in our toolbox as journey practitioners, as coaches. We've worked with people. So to just tune into your heart and see if this feels right. So as we shared the slide earlier on, for the first 10 places, there's an email waiting for you when we finish here. So please just check it out if it's for you. There's a couple of dates, one in June, one in July. Come and join us. Come and join me. I would love to see you there. And I would love to see and witness the transformation, which is something I've done for many, many years. And the transformation here with me has been, and not only that, but it reaches your family. It reaches, even though my mum was depressed, severely depressed all of her life, I know that in the last 10 years of her life, she knew that I loved her, and I knew that she loved me. And so even though she was still on heavy drugs, on sleeping pills, on antidepressants, there was a bond between her. And it just came to a place of accepting and understanding and loving. And I know that she felt that. And I wish I'd gotten there earlier, but she experienced it as part of her life as well. So that's beautiful. And wherever you are in your life, it is about us, and then it's about those around us, our loved ones, our husbands, our partners, our children, our mums, our dads, our friends, our colleagues, everyone. It's like a little spark that can kind of go from one to the next. I'll take one more question, Daniela, from you. Thank you. What is your question?
Hello, good evening, everyone. My question was just answered in the chat. It was about the timing. It said from 10 o'clock till about 7:30. And the other question would have been, would there be any certification of attendance at the end of the 3 days?
We can do that, yes. We do it on request. We don't have it automatic just yet, although it's in the pipeline, but on request we can definitely do it.
Okay, thank you very much. I have already signed up for my July. Looking forward to meeting you. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. So, and with the time zone, so I'm seeing somebody from America, and I know October is a long way away. We have quite a few people who jump time zones. They kind of just decide that they don't want to wait for 3 or 4 months, that they just want to jump time zones, and the body actually adjusts pretty quickly. So that's a possibility too. It just means getting up for the guys in America is getting up very, very early, and after 1 or 2 days, body is really, really good with it. So if you are in a place of health where you can do that, that's another option. You don't have to wait if you feel that you can do that. So I'm not sure, I may have missed some question. Can my wife participate with me? Yes, of course. Will we practice with each other? You will work with another participant, so you will learn. We're not sending you an expert who does you, who fixes you, who heals you. You will learn how to do this work. You will learn firsthand how to do this work, so you then can practice with each other, and only if you get stuck. And I can assure you that normally about 85% of the people just go through quite effortlessly. And then there are some people who need some help. And for that, we have a team there, we have trainers there, we have a support team there that can help. So the processes take place in the afternoon. Then there is an integration session. There's always time to check in with me. I'll be there in live. The teaching sessions will happen with Brandon, which some of them are pre-recorded. But once you've been through this seminar, you are then actually free to join Brandon live. She comes on live once a month and does a Q&A or satsang session with anybody who's been through the Journey Intensive, and that is also something that then will belong you. But you can become part of a community of like-minded people who've just said, okay, enough, I'll take charge of what's going on in my life, and I'm going to take charge of finding a way of heal this. And Brandon's work is is one of the ways. I haven't found anything better or stronger anywhere. And I was kind of looking here, there, and everywhere for some time. And when I landed with Brandon, it felt like I'd come home. So once you open into this profound presence that we all are, we find that the love, the answers, the wisdom is all inside of us, and we just need to find the courage to dive into that and then open the doors and allow it to kind of become this osmosis where where love comes into us and comes out from us. So what a beautiful way of being. So I hope to see you. Support at thejourney.com if you want to send emails or get in touch with me or Daniel. An email is waiting for you. There will be more emails, and we'll be sharing the slides with you. And I believe the recording from today, if you want to hear some of the stuff again. So all I can do is say thank you one more time for joining us here today. And I hope I see you maybe in June or in July at the upcoming Journey Intensive. The big difference between those two is that the one in June is midweek, is a Tuesday, Wednesday, and the one in July is Saturday, Sunday. So if a weekend is easier for you, you may want to choose July. If a weekday is easier for you, you may want to come in June. Entirely up to you. So whatever you choose, but know that we have a few places at this crazy, silly price. So please do it now. Don't waste any time and come and join us. And I look forward to seeing you. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us here, and I look forward, hopefully, to seeing you at some of the upcoming events. Thank you, and good evening or good day or good morning, depending on where in the world you are. Thank you.
My biggest win with the journey has been that inner peace
I just wanted to share something because we can talk all day long and talk about us, but we have a reel of, it's just under 3 minutes of people who've all done journey work, and what they all have in common, they've all had severe traumas or illnesses in their life, and they are speaking from their own personal experience. So it's not just me and Daniel, it's not just kind of the core team of the journey, but these are people from all around the world. You will hear it in their accents, and they're just sharing in a few words what has changed in their life and where they are now. So sorry, I meant to say that, and thanks, Chris, for reminding me.
My biggest win with the journey has been that inner peace and just that fundamental knowing that I've got full purpose and a great deal more happiness.
That was amazing for me, and actually for my whole family. Allowed us to keep this open mind on life and to open to all the opportunities.
I have so much more freedom and self-connection and health and vibrancy. I just feel more alive.
The journey helped me to understand what my emotions are, not to be scared of them.
It changed my life. It cleared all blocks and brought into my consciousness what my heart's desire was.
Now I feel my life is easier. I feel stronger, feel what I feel and find a new solution.
To be free from the burden on my shoulders. I live in the moment now, and I'm open to my emotions from the highest to the lowest.
Until the journey, I didn't really know that I could get to the same depth without using any substance. It's getting easier and easier to connect to the deepest part of myself.
Probably the biggest improvement is my inner life or my inner freedom to be as myself, in myself, not being a victim of circumstances and the other people.
The journey has really been a second chance in life for me. Having permission to dive deep and find out who the real authentic me was and just to be that person has just been wonderful.
When you listen to yourself and when you really touch your soul, something magical happens.
Life is different because of the journey. I feel I have all the tools I need to face whatever life throws at me. Life has become fun.
My biggest win was healing a broken heart, and not once, many times. I would never have been able to be in the position that I am in now had it not been for the journey.
Befriending myself in really accepting who I am, that I am perfectly imperfect and I don't need fixing.
I've gained so much. So there is no one big win. If it had to be named as one thing, I would just say it's life-changing.
It's changed my world, it's changed my life, it's changed me. And it's allowed me to be open and vulnerable and completely transparent.
My biggest win as a result of using the journey would definitely be my ability to network and expand upon the goals that I've had for such a long period of time.
My biggest win since attending the Journey Intensive has been finding myself. It has been healing, transforming.
I am just so much more receptive and open to whatever God has planned for me. At the very core of me, being able to experience that peace has been priceless.
journey.